Hey, what's up, guys? Gons here for the Face Like the Sun channel. It is January 10th, 2020, and I'm going to get into this article here by CNET. Brain Tech is here. These gadgets from CES 2020 rely on your brainwaves to work. Of course, CES stands for the Consumer Electronics Show that each year they come out and they show all the new gadgets for the year. And some of it is just ridiculous, like impossible pork, computers, or, iPads or whatever, tablets that are folding like laptops, and tech getting less techy and more subtle. I actually wouldn't mind that. I think that's kind of a good aesthetic move, but there's bigger issues at hand here. One of them is this Toyota's City of the Future, which has no human drivers, and Toyota introduced this idea of Woven City, which is a prototype community of the future that will be built near Mount Fuji in Japan. Interesting that if you're familiar with Mount Fuji, there's a picture of it there, but the forests that surround Mount Fuji is known for suicides. People go there to commit suicide, people go to visit and somehow end up dead. There's a lot of mysterious things that go on in the footbed of Mount Fuji. And here are some photos of Woven City, and basically there's like this large area where people wander around. I guess it's like the center area, and instead of cars they have these vehicle thingies that people, like trolleys kind of, that people jump on, and I don't know, it just it doesn't look that amazing. It's just kind of like, hey, like a theme park or something. Here are a few more pictures of 3D renderings of Woven City, and I don't know if these buildings are houses or places to live, or I don't know what's going on, but I don't know. It's just kind of like, okay, whatever. I mean, sure, it's cool. It's kind of future-y or whatever, but nothing too intense. It's just an interesting thing to consider that a car company is building a city, or at least a little, I would call it a theme park, like a futuristic theme park, because why not? They have money to do it. They need to push forward the new world order. And so here we go. Why don't we build a little miniature city where people don't have to drive cars to get anywhere? Although everything looks like it's in walking distance. That's the thing that I don't get. It's like, oh, driverless car city. Except you'd probably be better off if you just walk. I get it if you have to get somewhere quickly, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem like that much of an improvement for life to live here. In fact, it probably is a lot more tracked. And is that a drone? Is that a picture of a drone? They CGI'd a drone into the fake image. Anyway, yeah, more surveillance than anything else. And one of the big things was new sensors are coming to upgrade your health. And this is where we get into the story that I wanted to read from CNET. Brain Tech is here. These gadgets from CES 2020 rely on your brainwaves to work. Tech that uses brainwaves to improve sleep, anxiety, and concentration was on display in Vegas. And this is not new technology. This has been around for a while. It's just the progress, keeping track of the progress of taking this sort of technology, like we discussed in a video previously, a company called Monarch, which is, the monarch butterfly, which has MK Ultra implications written all over it, and having that device be available for children with ADHD. And, there's some debates I've seen, and people have commented differently and stuff like that in terms of the reality of ADHD, or if it's just a fake thing, or if it's something that was genuine but then got overprescribed for the deepening of the pockets of the doctors, whatever happened there. This idea that this technology would be helping people who have issues with attention. Stick something on your head and little electrical signals and it calms the brain and blah, blah, blah. Same concept here. There's first company BrainCo Prosthetic Hand. BrainCo's AI-powered prosthetic hand works with an amputee's brain waves and muscle signals to intuit the movement they want to make. And so we will probably be seeing BrainCo prosthetics become a thing in terms of just people that have amputations or, just deficiencies. This sort of thing is interesting because, I've talked about this before, the idea of restoration and enhancement. With restoration being a process where, hey, let's use technology, science, whatever we're capable of doing to restore people to normalcy with more or less similar abilities as a normal person, I guess. I don't know. Again, all of these are philosophical debates taking place nowhere, or maybe in just small circles and not necessarily at the societal level where the technology is going out there, just people aren't really thinking about the consequences either way. But yeah, it's probably one of those things that's going to help people, but at the same time, in the hands of the wrong person or somebody that wants to go beyond that restoration and move towards enhancement, now the paraplegic or the amputee has a super robot cyborg arm, and he's a superhero now because he can punch through brick walls or whatever. So those are the ethical concerns regarding this type of technology. Ergonite is a padded headband that connects to an app to measure your EEG and uses games to teach you how to control your brainwaves or control the brainwaves that impact sleep. So, if you're having trouble sleeping, strap this on your head and look at your phone to try to fall asleep. I don't know. I guess there's some science obviously behind this, but the problem is going to be when people become dependent on this type of gadgetry to fall asleep. But I suppose I can see how it helps some people if you're insomniac, if you're struggling with sleep. Alpha Stim X, Electromedical Products International's Alpha Stim device uses electrotherapy to send electric waves to your brain to fight pain, anxiety, insomnia, and depression without medication. And let's see, the device has been on market for almost 40 years and has a number of clinical studies supporting it. So this is one of those devices that, again, has been around for a while. The FDA-approved device is currently only available by prescription. But at CES, the company unveiled a new prototype called Alpha Stim X. Okay, so yeah, again, it's interesting how this red tape technology is all of a sudden becoming available to the masses. And I'll tie it into another piece of technology with CERN in this video as we go on here. But Deceit Light at CES OBE Lab or OB Lab unveiled its first commercial application of the Deceit Light, a portable wireless brain imaging system. And, people that do brain imaging, this might be, or just, practitioners in general of brain imaging, this is fantastic for, sports teams or whatever. This type of device will be very helpful for people that, if they scan it for injury, whatever the case may be. I can see this being a useful tool for that industry. But again, you never know how it's going to be misused, but that's with any technology. Muse S announced that CES is a headband and app combo that calls itself your personal meditation assistant. The headband is a multi-sensor meditation device that provides real-time feedback on your brain activity, heart rate, breathing, and body movements to help you meditate more effectively. And this sort of brain wave tracking and all that kind of stuff, it's fairly invasive. If you think about it, quantifying pieces of information, which is another thing happening to the world, is that everything is being broken down into this immaterial substance called information, and all we have are physical sort of carriers of that information, and that information affects the way that physical thing exists or sits in this time-space thing. And so anyway, that's just a little rabbit trail into the cosmology of things and how shape is affected by non-material substances. In any case, so the idea here of having your brainwaves tracked, this ties, of course, very much into the idea of an image of the beast that requires worship or you're killed. Because with this type of technology becoming prevalent, if some kind of super AI or super technology that is run by some evil genius person is able to see and tap into your brain activity and know if one's worship, so to speak, is genuine towards the beast or not, I mean, that level is pretty intense. And I think it's to the point where the notion of a true Christ follower just pretending to worship the beast to live, that's not going to be an option. And I think that's the kind of, I guess you can say, transparency that the mark of the beast in Revelation 13 it requires for that prophecy to become a widespread fulfillment type of thing, because, again, it's that leverage of control of one entity being able to have the power to, or possess the power to control buying and selling based on worship. So again, it just goes into how the infrastructure of the end, so to speak, is being built or being accelerated with devices like this one. And not saying that that's the mark of the beast. Again, we're keeping track of the advancement of this technology as it moves in that direction. Focus Fit involves a headband that uses neurofeedback technology to measure your brain waves and train your mind to achieve the highest level of focus during a workout or athletic activity. And after your workout, the headband helps you recover faster through neurofeedback paired with guided meditation, which reduces inflammation and cortisol levels. Again, there's probably some science, true science behind that, but it's just interesting. Like, hey, wear this headband while you work out, and hey, wear this headband to not work out and come off of hey, wear this headband because it's gonna do nothing but good for you. It's just a weird thing, weird time we're in here. But there you go. You got the brain tech devices that are really becoming more prominent. And this is part and part with another story I wanted to bring up in this video, which is very interesting. It's a story I shared on canarycry.community. If you guys want to join, I know a bunch of you guys did after last time I mentioned it. And there's a lot of good conversations taking place there. So check it out. There's, lots of fun things like memes like this one, how celebrities look trying to hide the New World Order. Pretty funny. This one from Casey Marion, when you really want to slap somebody but the Holy Spirit says no. There's just a lot of good stuff happening in there. And it's not just, memes. There's actually serious conversations taking place. A lot of people sharing their perspectives, me sharing my perspectives on some of the Bible prophecy stuff out there. Important things that you should consider, like this story about Jesus Christ, the robot of the future. It's not actually a story. Somebody posted this. Steven posted this. And he said, I did search on a Play Store for Jesus games. This was not far from the top of the list. And it's just something to take a look at. Who made this? What's the idea? What's the goal behind this? Why is Jesus a robot in the future in this game? So again, check it out, canarycry.community. And that's a real URL. It actually works. If it doesn't work, you got to just type in www.canarycry.community. But in any case, the story I wanted to mention here, Stanford makes particle accelerator on a chip. And I said, we know billions of dollars are poured into CERN, but Stanford just made a super mini version of a Large Hadron Collider at the nanoscale. Their methods to make it work is interesting too. My goodness, I have some ridiculous typos here. I'm going to go ahead and fix some of that. So here's how you can go in here and work it. We know billions of dollars are poured in to CERN, but Stanford just made a mini super version. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so here's the article itself, hpcwire.com. And the part that I wanted to show you guys, designing a large particle accelerator typically begins with a basic design followed by simulations to help the designers arrange the microwave bursts for maximum acceleration. But since the necessary light sources were orders of magnitude smaller than a microwave, a different approach was necessary. The team instead used inverse design algorithms, allowing the team to specify the desired light energy first and then allowing the simulation software to suggest the appropriate nanoscale structures. Quote, sometimes inverse designs can produce solutions that a human engineer might not have thought of, said co-author R. Joel England. While not as powerful as its gargantuan sibling, the tiny particle accelerator developed by the research team is able to accelerate electrons using an infrared laser. To build a particle accelerator prototype, the team created a nanoscale silicon channel, vacuum sealed it, inserted electrons, and used the infrared laser, which can pass through silicon to accelerate those electrons. That's pretty intense, folks. And it says here that they hope to use it to treat cancer and focus on alternative medical X-ray devices. Quote, in this paper, we begin to show how it might be possible to deliver electron beam radiation directly to a tumor, leaving healthy tissue unaffected, he said. So there you go, Stanford, Silicon Valley Light, or Silicon Valley, the school, coming up with miniature particle accelerators. So we might have a particle accelerator in our pockets. Everybody will have a particle accelerator device on them soon. And if you think about the logic here in terms of on the fringe here where we sit, the idea of CERN being some kind of device, a large device, to mess with matter, to mess with the fabric of creation, to try to create some kind of opening or portal into another dimension or world. And that's not a complete speculative thing. That's what the scientists have warned about. That's what some of the physicists that I've quoted and documented over the years have stated. They use the words other dimension when describing the potential things that can happen with this Large Hadron Collider. But the people who tried to squash that kind of narrative come out and say, no, the actual energy being produced here in the collisions is nothing like that, which would create a black hole. But again, there's concerns on either side. This is allegedly technology that we have not really tapped into before, although it seems like we're just tapping into knowledge that was just there from the beginning. Perhaps the antediluvian world had some kind of access to that knowledge, and it's been suppressed or hidden for a long time, and now we're getting back to a point where we're able to access those types of capacities for a much more efficient energy extraction that doesn't require burning or fuel or fire, but instead some kind of electromagnetism. That's what seems to be taking place. The idea of Tesla physics or Tesla science becoming the mainstream corporate type of science behind this technology, behind what's going to be out there. So again, if you look at the logic here, the Large Hadron Collider was a thing that was going to open a portal. Now they're making miniature ones that can fit in your pocket, or maybe a microchip that you can stick in your hand. Now what are we talking about with the Mark of the Beast? And I know we've talked about DNA, or the human being abandoning their humanity as part of the Mark of the Beast system, and thus, their torment rises forever and ever. There's no salvation for the people that take the mark or worship the image. It's because they change fundamentally. They are no longer human, therefore they no longer qualify for the salvation of Jesus Christ. That's been the thinking here from the beginning of really the existence of this channel. Back in 2011, I was talking with Doug Hamp and Rob Skiba about that stuff, and it was just one of those things where we realized, like, oh, wow, that's definitely possible. Probably not the first person to talk about it, but certainly, being able to share on the internet and write cohesive blog posts and put videos together, we were on that really early in the decade, or I guess last decade. Wow, that's crazy to say. But anyway, so if you consider that logic, this small, tiny chip, could it be something to, in the spiritual sense? It doesn't have to be like a physical portal, but just in the spiritual sense, maybe lift the veil, so to speak. Because here's the deal. I look at the end times, the eschatological passages in Scripture, and clearly there's a moment when the heavens recede like a scroll. And whatever this heaven, there's a new heaven and new earth eventually when things are restored. And I've made this point several times, but I think it's true, is that the reason why God has to completely make a new heaven and a new earth is because the current heaven, the current earth, is going to be really messed up. And perhaps this type of device, and at the large scale, becoming distributed worldwide and becoming part of our natural technological infrastructure, could that really aid in the process of messing up the proper barriers that exist between heaven and earth? And that's the kind of thinking that I'm having with this sort of technology and this kind of story, that's a very strong possibility that we're heading in that direction. So again, the grand sort of thinking here is that information, which I think the idea of information being a non-substance thing is really profound. And again, this is stuff that goes back a long time in terms of discussing it, but the ideas remain, and I think it's more important now to talk about it because more people are becoming aware of it. More people are able to handle this type of information and are coming to their own realizations with it, because I see a lot of comments. People comment on this channel and other places all the time. They have these sort of eureka moments and they say like, oh my gosh, I think they're going to change the DNA that's going to be part of the mark and that kind of stuff, or some kind of portal is going to open the abyss and those who seek death not find it. More people are starting to see it. They're starting to recognize that this is likely the stuff that was prophesied and talked about in a way that seemed like science fiction, but now again we're living in science fiction world as we move forward here, and it's going to be pretty rough because the traditional infrastructure is all combustion based, and I don't think that's going to go away. I don't think it's going to, or at least maybe that's part of the massive disruption or some kind of massive thing that takes place where creation gets messed up, where the combustion end of things, the nukes, all that kind of stuff. Nuclear energy being another, thing that really already exists and is a part of our technological infrastructure. As those things, either they purposely melt down, as they've done, I think, with Fukushima. There was a recent podcast that I was listening to, basically, and this guy wasn't a conspiracy guy or anything like that, but he stated that in Japan during the meltdown, they were trying to get rid of the gas that was accumulating inside the plant, and the workers there were saying, hey, we need to release this gas. We have to open up the vents to allow this gas out. But the Japanese government basically came in and said, no, you cannot open the vent. And I can't remember the exact reason that was stated, but no, you can't open this vent. And then boom, huge explosion, along with the tsunami and the meltdown and the whole deal. So I just think it's always shifty, and it's always pretty clear to people that are willing to look into it that it's not just a random event. None of these things are random. A lot of it is controlled. A lot of it might be a mistake by the elite who have the levers, like, oops, I accidentally hit this button and we have an earthquake in Nepal or whatever. You never know. You never know the kinds of technologies that these people have. But in terms of getting into your head, that's really the next phase here. And it ties into the UN Agenda 2030. It ties into that whole idea of sustainable development and having everybody biomarkered and having everybody's DNA mapped and the whole deal, the whole apparatus. And again, it's really important to note that I say all of this and report all of this not to sow fear. Because if you hear all this and you have fear in your heart, then you're really not paying attention to the deeper message here. Because the main point, the main message, the one message that has been consistent throughout the existence of this channel, no matter what topics or twists and turns we tend to take and examine and explore, is that Jesus Christ is Lord. And that his resurrection really indicated the true power of God in this creation and how he will return with power and great glory and to judge. Because judgment is coming, folks. The spiritual war that is behind the advancement of technology cannot be denied anymore. People in the church need to recognize that there is something very fundamentally spiritual taking place. And if you just tune into that supernatural perspective on things and understand what's going on biblically, that we are at war with these entities that don't seem to have a physical property to them, but are described as leaving their estate improperly in an effort to manifest physically and affect us at the physical level. And so whatever's taking place there, it is real, and we need to pay attention to it, and we need more believers to start to recognize this, which I think will happen. I think there is a sort of remnant awakening, remnant revival, if you want to use that word. I don't really like that word per se, but there are a growing number of people out there, believers out there, who are seeing this and are at least finding channels like this one that have been around for almost a decade, folks. I can't believe it. It's going to be crazy. 2021, I think, April is going to be 10 years with this channel. So I guess I got another year, but still, that's a long time. It's a long time. It's a good chunk of life that I have spent sharing my ideas about what's going on in the world on this platform. And who knows what's going to happen to YouTube. Obviously, YouTube, in terms of financially, has been, has crushed content creators like us, but That's all part of it, and that's why you can go to patreon.com to help support this channel, and I'll be posting more there, and just trying to get the word out as well, because Patreon is also likely not going to last forever, but for now it's just something that we can use to go around the ridiculous money grabbing that is taking place with YouTube and Google, and also the censorship taking place with the type of information that is shared, or at least try to choke them out by taking away any kind of financial sustainability for those content creators or people that have comments that go against their beast rising, which, oh man, it's definitely getting pretty obvious. And the time to leave Google was like 3 years ago, but since, you know, we're still here, at least I am obviously moving to BitChute and posting there. Again, everything automatically posts there, so definitely go check it out. It's another place where this content is being built. But I also have something that I want to make available to you guys, and that's this USB. I had them available at the conference back in October, and I have a few more left. If you guys want one, all you have to do is go to FaceLikeTheSun.net/USB, and you'll be able to grab one of those USBs, and I'll send one to you. It has Age of Deceit 1, 2, and 3, as well as a bunch of Canary Cry Radio stuff. I think like hundreds of episodes of Canary Cry Radio, and a bunch of videos from the Face Like the Sun channel. Not all of them, but I do have a lot of them. I think there's over 120 videos or something like that. So there's that, as well as a miscellaneous list of videos and documentaries that you guys can dig into. Just a way to preserve some of this information. And again, visit FaceLikeTheSun.net/USB to pick up one of those, and I'll send you one. Especially in the United States, I think we'll be able to figure out if you're overseas to get you one as well, but it is easier if you're in the US. Most of the audience, according to YouTube analytics, is in the US, so let me know, guys. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you guys for checking out this video. Have an awesome day. God bless.